I was introduced to the cave paintings years ago when I was illustrating a book on the, basically on the Portola Serra expedition of 1769. And an ex-student of mine and I rode 600 miles through the mountains of Baja California on the Camino Real, and some of the people along the way showed me rock art. And when I got home, I began to try to check up and see what was known about it, and I was shocked to find that I'd seen 6 or 8 sites that had never been published. Loving Baja California gave me an excuse to get away from, to leave my poor wife to raise the family, and came down, and I spent 15 months off and on over a period of several years. And that book brought 180 new sites into the literature that had never been published. The first one was the King's Highway in Baja California, 1974. The next one was the cave paintings of Baja California in 75. And then last of the Californios, my book on the people in the mountains of Baja California in 81. And then the next was Antigua, California in 94, and Gateway to Alta California in 2002, and I did a novel, Portrait of Paloma, in 2001. Well, I grew up in La Jolla, and I was in a Navy officer training program during World War II and graduated from Little Occidental College in Los Angeles, met my wife there, got married, got a teaching credential at San Diego State University, taught 12 years first in Memorial Middle School and then opened Mission Bay High School in '53. And in '58 went back to my alma mater, La Jolla High School, and taught the last 5 years there. And I quit to become a photographer. I got that job that put me on muleback to illustrate the book, and the rest, as they say, is history. That effectively was my introduction to Baja California. As a matter of fact, I was so green that I thought when I wrote the contract to do that book, I thought I could do it from the old dirt road. I found that the King's Highway, the Camino Real, only crossed the old dirt road 3 times in the whole length of the peninsula. That's why we wound up, I bought 4 mules and hired local guides and rode the whole way in order to take the pictures. One of the most characteristic features of the Baja California rock art, and it's rather unusual on a worldwide basis, is overpainting, heavy overpainting. So they thought nothing of obliterating the paintings made, I don't know how many generations before, but to me, this signifies that the paintings were put on sacred sites, we would call them. The shaman, the priests, however you want to call their holy men, probably designated places as being the places where the spirits were, but it had to be a religious impulse. Otherwise, why would you find perfectly good rock shelters unpainted right next to rock shelters where you have the paintings one on top of another, literally obliterating each other? So I think it was a religious impulse. There's a great deal of evidence that these paintings were done over a long period of time. In certain caves, you find 5 layers of paintings. The oldest one is almost eroded away completely. You practically can't see it. And the newest one looks quite fresh. Well, when you consider how long it's been since the newest one was painted, that tells you that it had to be a long time between the first and the last. These paintings have lately been dated by apparently very modern and accurate techniques to possibly over 7,000 years before the present. They're now being recognized as the earliest dated rock art in North and perhaps South America. The characteristics, what I call the conventions in these paintings, are different from any other North American rock art. In one of the chapters in my book, I've made a great deal of effort to indicate what these conventions are, and they're complicated, and there are a number of them. There's 6 or 7 of these characteristics, which you see, even though the paintings look quite different, when you address them from the standpoint of the conventions, they all fit. Nobody has attempted to make such a connection, to my knowledge, and I've seen the rock art from the mainland, and I've never seen any of it that looked convincingly like the Baja California rock art. It's very interesting because they had some very big advantages out here in the peninsula. They had volcanic agglomerate surfaces formed by weathering that resulted in undermining great areas of rock which dropped away, leaving these great big conch-shaped, shell-shaped overhang shelters. And the rock is not sandstone. We're not talking Arizona. We're not talking Navajo sandstone. This stuff is very durable. So they had a surface with good tooth, as a painter would say. That is, it takes the paint and really clutches it, well protected, and the rock surface itself does not weather quickly. There's a lot of reasons why the paintings would be long-lasting. Pigments were ground rock entirely. There's no plant dyes or nothing, isn't blood or anything like that. Hematite is the common substance. It's all the red and red-brown and all that is a mineral called hematite, an iron compound, which changing its color, it doesn't bleach, the sun doesn't bleach it, it's permanent. For black, they use manganese dioxide, and I've often wondered, because in some places you see figures that are characteristically black and red, black on one side and red on the other. There's no sign of the black. Other places, the black persists beautifully, and I find myself wondering if they didn't grind up charcoal to make the black in those places where it's disappeared. In the first place, you have to recognize that it's generally accepted. There's a good deal of evidence. In the first place, it's almost certain that the peninsula was occupied from the north. And when the Spaniards got here, there were 3 major linguistic groups. And they were layered east to west, with the Cochimí at the top and the Guaycura in the middle and the Pericu in the south. So you have to imagine that something similar to that's been going on as long as man has been on the peninsula, that they've come down from the north in successive waves. So my assumption is the painters, yes, they either were wiped out, or more likely they just meld together and as the new wave arrives.